Well, how old are you?
23?
23 years old. Son, don't you think you ought to be getting an education and a job and making something of this life?
Mr. Franz, I think careers are a 20th century invention, and I don't want one. You don't need to worry about me. I have a college education. I'm not destitute. I'm living like this by choice.
In the dirt?
Yeah, in the dirt.
What if the life you are chasing is the exact reason you feel empty? A young man had everything: a degree, money, a future, but he walked away from all of it to live alone in the wild. Not for adventure, but to find something deeper. And what he discovered might change the way you see life. This is Into the Wild, a story that feels simple on the surface, but underneath it asks one of the most uncomfortable questions: can you truly live a meaningful life alone? Based on the real story of Christopher McCandless, this film is not just about escaping society, it's about what we lose when we do. So, yeah, Christopher McCandless did not just leave home, he rejected an entire way of life. To him, society felt artificial, success felt empty, and relationships felt complicated.
Some people feel like they don't deserve love. They walk away quietly into empty space, trying to close the gap of the past.
So he chose something radical. He walked away. No money, no identity, no attachments. He believed that by removing everything, he could finally experience truth. And this idea is not new. It reflects a deep human desire to simplify life, to disconnect from noise, to return to something pure. But here's the question the film quietly asks: is escape the same as freedom? Well, as Chris travels, he meets people who genuinely care about him. They offer him friendship, guidance, even love. But every time, he leaves. Not because he does not feel anything, but because he believes he does not need anyone. And this is where his mindset becomes dangerous. Chris starts to believe in a powerful illusion that he can be completely self sufficient, that he can live fully without relationships. But the film challenged this idea because as humans, we are not designed for isolation, we are designed for connection. And denying that comes with a cost. And yeah, when Chris finally reaches Alaska, he believes he has found what he was searching for: nature untouched, uncontrolled, and honest. Out there, there are no expectations and no lies, no social pressure, just survival and reality. And for a moment, it feels like freedom. But I think nature does not replace something essential, it does not replace people, and slowly that absence begins to grow louder. But what happened to Christopher in the end is where the story becomes truly haunting. After months in the Alaskan wilderness, living inside an abandoned bus, Chris slowly started running out of food. At first, he survived by hunting small animals and gathering plants, but nature is not forgiving, and then something went wrong. He ate seeds from a wild plant believed to be Hedysarum alpinum. These seeds were later thought to contain toxic compounds that made his body extremely weak, so weak that he couldn't hunt, couldn't move properly, couldn't escape. And at the same time, the river he once crossed easily had now become wild and flooded. His way back was gone. He was trapped, alone, starving, and slowly losing strength. And in his final days, Chris began to understand something deeply human. All freedom he chased, all isolation he embraced was not enough because life was never meant to be lived alone. And in his final note, he wrote words that still echo today: I have had a happy life and thank the Lord. Goodbye and may God bless all. But the most heartbreaking realization: I think happiness is only real when shared, not as an idea anymore, but as truth. A truth he discovered just a little too late. So when you watch Into the Wild, don't just see it as a story about adventure, see it as a story about limits: the limit of independence, the limit of isolation, the limit of running away. Because Christopher did not just go into the wild, he went too far away from what makes us human. And maybe that's the real tragedy. Not that he died in the wilderness, but that he realized the meaning of life only at the very end. But maybe, this is totally my point of view, maybe we have been looking at the story the wrong way. I don't know, maybe. Everyone says Christopher realized too late that happiness is only real when shared. And maybe that's true. But what if that's not the whole truth? What if in his final moments he was not filled with regret, but with peace? Because think about it, he did not die chasing someone else's dream. He did not die stuck in a life he hated. He died living the exact life he chose. A life most people are too afraid to even imagine, and that's what makes him different. While most of us are still searching for purpose, still confused, still following paths we did not choose, Chris knew what he wanted: freedom, truth, a life beyond society's rule, and he lived it fully. So maybe the question is not did he make a mistake? Maybe the real question is how many of us will ever have the courage to live life on our own terms, even if it costs us everything. Because at the end of the day, life is not just about how long you live, it's about whether you truly lived at all. And in that sense, maybe Christopher did not lose. Maybe he won.